Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Lazy Sunday Review. I hope the weekend has been good to you all, my lovely weekend warriors, and if not, sit back, relax, and let me entertain you for a moment. Now, the 80s were a really interesting time. I mean, people were introduced to some pretty cool things, such as the Atari 2600, the Walkman was also invented, which means people could listen to their music on the go, and we also learned that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father, which really blew the mind of nerds in the 80s.
I am your father.
Oh my God! Finally, Michael Jackson introduced his iconic moonwalk dance, which by the way makes for some really funny and interesting moments at parties if you can get your friend drunk enough to do it. But the main thing that really defined the 80s were the iconic action movies that came out during that time. I'd argue that the 80s is what made action movies more prevalent than they already were. I mean, let's look at what came out at the time. Die Hard, The Terminator, The Predator, Lethal Weapon, RoboCop, and of course, First Blood, which introduced us to the most well-known action hero, John Rambo. So this weekend's movie is a sequel to the Rambo franchise and also promises to be the final installment, but I mean, we all know what having last or final in your name is. It's just a bunch of bullshit. Let's get into this one. Rambo: The Last Blood. Yeah, I'm really holding my breath on that title.
You can bullshit everybody else, but he ain't fooling me.
Starring Sylvester Stallone, Vega, Yvette Monreal, Sergio Peris Mencheta, Oscar Jaenada, and Adriana Barraza. Rambo: The Last Blood shows our favorite bullet-sporting veteran finally stop fighting the times by finally getting a haircut. He's also living a more calmer life in Arizona, where he owns a ranch and takes care of his niece Gabriella, who he sees as his own daughter. Well, Gabriella has not seen her father in years, and she finally tracks him down living in Mexico. So she decides to head over there and meet him, but gets kidnapped in the process by the Mexican cartel, where they plan to use her for their evil methods. But not if John Rambo has anything to say about that, because he's coming to draw first blood for the last time. When I started watching this movie, I was thinking to myself, now we have a daughter or daughter-like character going to a foreign country where she gets kidnapped by members of a criminal organization, and her father or father-like figure happens to have some sort of deadly expertise that he plans to use to get back his loved one and make those responsible suffer as much as humanly possible. Now, I was wondering, where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, I just remembered. Taken. Yep. Rambo: The Last Blood is a carbon copy movie of Taken, just featuring Rambo. But could it execute this premise with, well, better execution? Well, let's get into the positives. Yikes, guys. This movie was a very tough watch, but let's touch on what was good about the movie, and I'd say, the last 15 to 20 minutes of the movie were pretty decent. I mean, it's exactly what you would want from a Rambo movie. Lots of blood, lots of action, and we get to see John Rambo be John Rambo, which the rest of the movie really doesn't do because it's so painful to watch. First, the movie doesn't even feel like a Rambo movie. It feels like a watered-down version of Taken. It moves in the same direction, basically playing the same story beats from Taken, but Taken did it far better because in Taken, there were better characters and moments that made the movie entertaining. Here, we have Rambo, but he doesn't act like Rambo because there is no characterization. I know we probably got some in the previous films, but if we're putting John in this new setting, then we need a bit of backstory to really buy the fact that this is the kind of life that Rambo would want to go for. Also, who the is this chick? I'm 80% sure we have never heard that Rambo had a niece. I mean, is she blood related? Is she the kid of one of his ex-military buddies? Who are you? And that's what I'm talking about, is that this film doesn't give us any context for this relationship, so there is not that much weight to the revenge plot that takes place between Rambo and the cartel. Another thing is that this movie is so poorly acted, especially from Yvette Monreal. Sweet Jesus, I mean, she was the roughest performance to watch, and to better explain, allow me to use this as an example of what I thought about her performance. She was like this piece of wood, completely flat, lacking any agency or emotion, almost as thin as paper, having no real depth or weight, and also totally wooden. I'll give her some credit because she sure as hell can cry on command, which I was really impressed with. But Stallone also wasn't giving her anything to work with. He was really one note in this film. Now Stallone doesn't win a lot of Oscars for his performances, but he can really reach back and let out some decent performances like in First Blood.
And nobody would help. No one helped me say, I want to go home, I want to go home. He keeps calling my name. I want to go home, Johnny. I want to drive my Chevy. I said, well, what? I can't find your fucking way.
Stallone is just not giving anything back to her. He's just completely phoning it in this performance, and it sucks because there's no passion and no emotion coming from him, so it harmed this supposed relationship that he's supposed to have with this girl, which makes the revenge less satisfying because it doesn't feel earned. So with all of that being said, I'm giving Rambo: The Last Blood a D. The last 15 to 20 minutes of this movie is absolutely the best. It gets really down with the action, which we all are waiting for throughout the entire movie, which I guess worked out a little bit to save it till the end because it makes it more satisfying to watch him make these adult versions of the Home Alone traps. But other than that, the setup to this moment was just so clunky and messy and poorly edited and poorly written and poorly acted that this movie knows it doesn't really have anything of its own merit, so it decides to pull ideas and things from other movies and just becomes a poor imitation with Rambo slapped on the title. Well, that's it for the review, you guys, but let's talk about it. Did you see Rambo: Last Blood? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Put your comments in the comment section down below, and if you would like to see more of my reviews, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that way you'll get notifications anytime I release a new review. Well, thank you for joining me again, you guys, and I hope you have an amazing rest of the weekend. I'll see you next time.
Front hook, ankle hook, knee hook. From here, you can do the carousel. Just switch and wrap. We didn't do anything wrong. You know, Tony wouldn't let this happen. I'm gonna text him.
Who gave her